Guys, and welcome to Richard III lesson number 2. Let's get cracking. Our lesson objective today. Number 1, we're going to watch an animated version of the play, and that's going to help us kind of understand the story and what we kind of started in our last lesson. So the whole that family tree and the way Richard kills and manipulates people and the comings and goings. That's all going to be kind of fleshed out for us today in a kind of half an hour animated version. During that, I would like you to make a few notes about plot and character. So the things that happen, who does what, who says what happens to which character, etc., etc. Just so you make some notes. So you've got something on paper to help you understand what's been going on. And at the end of the film, I want you to reflect on the events and ideas in the play and think about your responses, how you feel about the play Richard III. I just want to make it clear at this point that whenever I put inverted commas around Richard III, I'm referring to the play. If it's the character, there will be no inverted commas, so it'll just be Richard or Richard III with no commas floating in the air there. So if it's got the inverted commas, it's the title of the play. If it hasn't got the inverted commas, it means the character. Hope that makes sense. Anyway, let's press on. So we're going to watch the animated film version. Like I said, it's about 25 minutes long. But what I'm going to plan on doing is I'm going to kind of watch this with you. So I'll pause it and explain it as we go along, and there'll be some notes on the side as well. Okay, so if you're ready and you're sitting comfortably, we can begin. So like I said, I've got a task here for you, and let's make notes about the plot and the characters as you watch the video. And there's 6 things I want you to be thinking about as we go through this, okay? And they're going to be on the side of the screen the whole way through. So these are the reflection questions that I want you to do at the end of this. But they're there for the whole duration of the film, so you can kind of keep an eye on them. So first of all, how much do you admire or like Richard? Is there anything that the audience can enjoy about his character? So that's the first thing I want you to think about. Second thing is about the female characters. Women in this play have got very restricted roles. They are either daughters, wives, mothers, or widows. That's it. That's all the only roles that the women have in this story is those 4 things. However, what I want you to think about is how do the women use their social status, even though it's limited, to have power and influence. Okay, so I want you to focus on how the women use their limited amount of status, but in a really powerful way. The third thing to look for is basically what's the message about, what is the play teaching the audience about political power and about those people who want to be rulers. What does this play seem to be suggesting about those people who want to be, king, essentially? Then a quick one from before. At the end of the story, when we finish this, we'll just think, well, which bit was the most dramatic? Which part of the story had the most kind of excitement and drama and kind of intrigue? And then question 5, slightly different, again, reflect on the whole play. Which is the most important moment in this play? Now, I'd like you to have a different answer for 5 and a different answer for 4. I don't want the same answer, so think carefully about your choices for question 4 and question 5, because I want you to have 2 different answers there. And finally, number 6, just a point about what do you think about Richard's death? How do you feel about it? We said it yesterday, he was the last king of England to die in battle. What do you think about his death? Okay, so without any further ado, we'll get the film going.
King Edward was sick, and so was his kingdom. Family hated family, brother hated brother, and none hated more venomously than Richard, Duke of Gloucester, the world and his brother the king.
Now is the winter of our discontent made glorious summer by this son of York. But I that am deformed, unfinished, have no delight to pass away the time, and therefore, since I cannot prove a lover, I am determined to prove a villain.
So Richard there has kind of made a few references to his physical shape. We said yesterday when his body was found in Leicester under that car park, he had that curved spine shape, and here Shakespeare's given him a line where he talks about his own deformity. He also says in this opening speech that he's determined to prove a villain. So he's telling the audience right from the very beginning that he is the bad guy. He's not going to be anything else other than an absolute villain in this whole play. So, in a way, his honesty is something to be admired there. He's not trying to hide his true self from us, the audience, just everyone else in the play.
A fierce ambition burned in the dark heart of the king's hunchback brother. He would be king. But others of his own family still stood in his way.
Brother, good day. What means this armored guard?
His Majesty hath appointed this conduct to convey me to the tower.
Upon what cause?
A wizard told him that by G his issue disinherited should be, and for my name of George begins with G, it follows in his thought that I am he.
Brother.
So this is George, the Duke of Clarence. This is Richard's middle brother. You remember the three brothers? Edward, George, and Richard. Richard's the little one in this play. Well, George here is being arrested and is going to be thrown in the Tower of London. And the reason he's been arrested is because someone's told the king that a wizard has kind of had some kind of sign that a character with a name beginning with the letter G is going to kind of get rid of it or murder the king. And as George's name begins with G, he's the prime suspect, and that's why he's been put in the tower as a form of protecting the king. I wonder who could have told the king that story about the wizard. It was Richard, by the way. Richard kind of planted this idea in the king's head just to give the king a reason to get rid of his brother.
Farewell. I will unto the king. Your imprisonment shall not be long. I will deliver you, or else lie for you.
Go, tread the path that thou shalt ne'er return.
I do love thee so that I will shortly send thy soul to heaven. One step nearer. But now he needed a well-born wife, and who better than the Lady Anne?
Now this scene is a tremendous scene on stage. You can see that in the background here we've got a kind of funeral procession happening, and Lady Anne is following the coffin of the previous king, the king who Henry VI, who was killed in the battle between the Yorks and the Lancaster families. So she was on the losing side, but she's honouring the dead king by going to his funeral. It's at this moment that Richard is going to try and chat her up and get her to marry him. He's killed her father-in-law and he's killed her husband. So she hates his guts. But it just shows again the kind of the nature of the man, that he just believes in himself, that he can, even in this awful situation and the chance is so minor, he thinks he'll be able to talk to her and make her agree to marry him. Let's see how he goes on.
I'll marry Warwick's youngest daughter. What, though I killed her husband and her father?
Set down, your honourable load.
The readiest way to make the wench amends is to become her husband and her father.
Poor key-cold figure of a holy king, be it lawful that I invocate thy ghost to hear the lamentations of poor Anne. Come now with your holy load.
Villain, set down the course.
Foul devil! For God's sake, hence, and trouble us not.
Sweet saint, for charity be not so cursed.
Oh, gentlemen, see, dead Henry's wounds open their congealed mouths and bleed afresh. Blush, thou lump of foul deformity.
There's that word again. Deformity, using his physical disability as an insult against him.
For 'tis thy presence that exhales this blood.
Lady, you know no rules of charity.
Villain, thou knowest no law of God nor man. Didst thou not kill this king?
I grant ye, the better for the King of Heaven that hath him.
And thou unfit for any place but hell.
Yes, one place else.
Some dungeon?
Your bedchamber.
So she spat at him there. She's really offended by what he's saying. He's saying that she says he should go to hell. She tells him to go to hell, and he says, "No, I'm more suited for your bedroom." So he's being, really forward with the way he's talking to her, and she's got no words. So she's just so repulsed at the idea that she spits at him in the face.
Out of my sight!
Your beauty was the cause. Your beauty that did haunt me in my sleep to undertake the death of all the world.
If thy revengeful heart cannot forgive, lo, here I lend thee this sharp-pointed sword. Nay, do not pause, for I did kill King Henry, but 'twas thy beauty that provoked me. Nay, now dispatch. 'Twas I that stabbed young Edward, but 'twas thy heavenly face that set me on.
So he's saying that basically he killed her father-in-law and her husband because he loves her and he wanted to marry her. So it's almost like he's saying that these deaths of these men that you loved, I did it for romantic reasons. And she's got the opportunity to kill him, but she can't go through with it because she's just not that way inclined.
Take up the sword again, or take up me.
I would I knew thy heart.
Vouchsafe to wear this ring.
To take is not to give.
Look how my ring encompasseth thy finger. Even so thy breast encloseth my poor heart.
And by some kind of miracle, he's managed to convince her to wear his engagement ring. So they've got a contract now. They'll get married as soon as they can get the arrangements sorted. So an amazing turnaround there for Richard.
Was ever woman in this humour wooed? Was ever woman in this humour won? I'll have her, but I will not keep her long.
And you just saw that little throwaway line at the end of the scene. I'll have her, but I will not keep her long. He's already planning on having her killed. He's already planning on murdering her because he knows that she's only got a limited use to him. And it's not about love. It's all about power. And once he's got as much power from this relationship that he can get, that he can squeeze out of this relationship, she's useless to him. So he's already aware that he'll have to kill her sometime in the future.
The king's sickness had deepened. The queen was filled with dread. Should he die, her sons, the little princes, were too young to rule. With their uncle, George, Duke of Clarence, in the Tower, Richard, the third brother, would be protector. And the hunchback hated her and all her family.
So here is the king, Richard's big brother, who, as we said yesterday, is ill, and he's not dead yet, but he's on his deathbed.
He cannot live, I hope, and must not die, till George be packed with post-horse up to heaven.
So here's George, the middle brother. He needs to be executed. He needs to be killed, murdered, somehow got rid of. Because if he is alive and the king dies, then he becomes very, very powerful and Richard has nothing. So Richard needs to make sure that his middle brother, George here, does not survive any longer. Because it's only a matter of hours before the king dies.
In God's name, what art thou?
A man as you are.
Who sent you hither? Wherefore do you come? To murder me? Wherein, my friends, have I offended you?
Offended us you have not, but the king.
I will send you to my brother Gloucester, who shall reward you better for my life than Edward will for tidings of my death.
Remember, Richard's title is the Duke of Gloucester. George is saying here that speak to my brother, the Duke of Gloucester. He'll help me out.
You are deceived. Your brother Gloucester hates you.
'Tis he that sends us to destroy you here.
And that's the end of George.
Richard had murdered his brother only just in time. King Edward was dead. All that remained between the hunchback and the crown were the little princes. In despair, the Queen sent her own brothers to Ludlow to secure her two sons before it was too late. But Richard had a clever friend, the Duke of Buckingham.
Now, the Duke of Buckingham is an absolutely vital character in this story. He does a lot of the planning with Richard. He and Richard work together and support each other in helping Richard get to become king.
My lord, whoever journeys to the prince, for God's sake, let not us two stay at home.
My dear cousin, I, as a child, will go by thy direction. Towards Ludlow, then.
The Queen's brothers were seized by Richard's men and put to death, and Edward, Prince of Wales, brought to London.
Ay me, I see the ruin of our house. The tiger now hath seized the gentle hind. Come, come, my boy, we will to sanctuary.
Welcome, dear cousin. The weary way hath made you melancholy.
No, uncle, but our crosses on the way have made it tedious. I thought my mother and my brother York would long ere this have met us on the way. Welcome, my lords. Will our mother come?
The Queen, your mother, and your brother York have taken sanctuary.
Fie, what an indirect and peevish course is this of hers. Lord Cardinal, will your grace persuade the Queen to send the Duke of York unto his princely brother presently?
God in heaven forbid we should infringe the sacred privilege of blessed sanctuary.
Oft have I heard of sanctuary men, but sanctuary children never till now.
Good lords, make all the speedy haste you may. Say, Uncle Gloucester, if our brother come, where shall we sojourn till our coronation?
If I may counsel you, some day or two your highness shall repose you at the Tower.
I do not like the Tower.
Now, in good time, here comes the Duke of York.
Richard of York, how fares our loving brother?
So these are the two young princes, and as you can hear in the conversation, it's all about where are these two young princes going to stay. Richard and Buckingham need the princes to be together because it's easier than to deal with the pair of them than it is to deal with them individually. So Buckingham did some talking, did some manipulation, and it's enabled the two brothers to be now put together. And Richard has suggested that they're going to stay at the Tower of London, and that's where they're going to sadly be killed.
Well, my lords,
How fares our cousin, noble Lord of York?
I thank you, gentle uncle.
My lord, will't please you pass along? Myself will to your mother, to entreat of her to meet you at the Tower.
What? Will you go into the Tower, my lord?
My Lord Protector needs will have it so.
I shall not sleep in quiet at the Tower.
Why, what should you fear?
My Uncle Clarence angry ghost.
I fear no uncle's dead.
Nor none that live, I hope.
And that is the last that anyone sees of the two princes.
With the two little princes mewed up in the tower, Richard's way to the throne was clear. But before he could proclaim himself king, he needed the assent of Lord Hastings, the Lord Chamberlain.
Lord Hastings, the Lord Chamberlain, is the kind of the equivalent of our Prime Minister. So Richard needs some more support, or someone else to suggest that he becomes king, in order for him to agree to it.
What shall we do if we perceive Lord Hastings will not yield to our complots?
Chop off his head, man.
When I am king, claim thou of me the earldom of Hereford.
I'll claim that promise at your grace's hand.
So that's an important little moment. There, Richard has offered Buckingham a hugely valuable piece of land as a kind of reward for helping him to become king. So if all the planning works out and if Richard gets crowned, then the Duke of Buckingham is going to be rewarded with all the land in Hereford, which is a very wealthy part of the country.
In the middle of the night, Sir William Catesby, another friend of Richard's, was sent to rouse Lord Hastings from the bed he shared with pretty Mr. Shaw and sound him out.
What news? What news in this our tottering state?
It is a reeling world indeed, my lord.
So here we've got the Lord Hastings talking to Catesby, who's another one of Richard's associates. And again, Richard is using Catesby to kind of plant or get ideas and to understand how Hastings feels. So this is another kind of opportunity here for Richard to kind of get some information which he can then use later in the play, just a couple of scenes away, for his advantage.
And will never stand upright till Richard wear the garland of the realm.
So Catesby's just suggested there to Hastings that Richard should be crowned king. Let's see how Hastings reacts.
Dost thou mean the crown?
Aye, my good lord.
I'll have this crown of mine cut from my shoulder.
So Hastings says he'd rather have his head chopped off than see Richard crowned king. So we know how Hastings feels now. And Catesby can use that information, pass it back to Richard, and Richard can then change his plan.
Before I'll see the crown so foul misplaced.
God keep your lordship in that gracious mind.
Lord Hastings was invited to dine in the Tower. Believing it was to name the day for the crowning of little Prince Edward as England's rightful king, he went cheerfully. It would be a good dinner.
So this is a trap. Richard is laying a trap here for Hastings. There's meant to be what Hastings is expecting as a meeting where they're going to discuss when the young prince will be crowned king of England. Instead, Richard's going to use this meeting to get Hastings to basically fall into a trap and have a reason to have him executed.
Now, noble peers, the cause why we are met is to determine of the coronation. When is the royal day?
Tomorrow is, I judge, a happy day.
Who knows the Lord Protector's mind herein?
Your grace, we think, should soonest know his mind.
Lord Hastings, you and he are near in love.
I thank his grace, I know he loves me well. But for his purpose in the coronation, I have not sounded him. But you, my honourable lords, may name the time, and in the Duke's behalf I'll give my voice.
My noble lords and cousins all, good morrow.
Had you not come upon your cue, my lord, William Lord Hastings had pronounced your part. I mean, your voice for crowning of the king.
That my Lord Hastings no man might be bolder. My Lord of Ely, when I was last in Holborn, I saw good strawberries in your garden there. I do beseech you send for some of them.
Marry and will, my lord, with all my heart.
Cousin of Buckingham, a word with you.
Hastings had opposed his coronation. Hastings must die.
I pray you all, tell me what they deserve that do conspire my death with devilish plots of damned witchcraft.
So Richard is using the witchcraft card here. He's claiming that somebody has been planning to kill him and he's used witchcraft to curse him.
And that have prevailed upon my body with their hellish charms.
I say, my lord, they have deserved death.
Then be your eyes the witness of their evil. See how I am bewitched.
So he's now using his deformed left arm as evidence that a witch has put a curse on him.
And this is Edward's wife, that monstrous witch consorted with that harlot Strumpet Shaw.
He blames the Queen and her relationship with a lady called Mistress Shaw. The two of them have conspired in witchcraft to curse him. Hastings is having a relationship with Mistress Shaw, so by association, he's guilty of witchcraft.
That by their witchcraft thus have mocked me.
If they have done this deed, my noble lord,
If thou protector of this damned strumpet, talkst thou to me of ifs? Thou art a traitor, off with his head. Now, by Saint Paul, I will not dine until I see the same.
And that's the end of Lord Hastings.
So dear I loved the man that I must weep.
Long live King Richard, England's worthy king.
And Buckingham raised a toast to King Richard. So he's the one that's pushing the idea, which makes it seem like it's not Richard's plan at all.
While Richard walked in glory, 3 women stood before the tower in wretchedness and grief. Richard's unhappy wife, the Lady Anne, the Queen, mother of the 2 little princes, and the mother of the hunchback himself, the Duchess of York.
So notice what these 3 women say and how they feel about their situation.
Oh, my accursed womb, the bed of death! A cockatrice hast thou hatched to the world, whose unavoided eye is murderous.
He hates me, and will, no doubt, shortly be rid of me.
Pity you ancient stones, those tender babes, rough cradle for such little pretty ones. Use my babies well.
Shall we wear these glories for a day, or shall they last?
You'll notice that Richard's wearing the crown now, he's the king, and he is now worried about how long he will be king for. In real history, it was only 2 years that he was there on the throne. He's going to now suggest to Buckingham that they should murder the 2 princes.
Forever let them last.
Young Edward lives. Think now what I would speak.
Say on, my loving lord.
Cousin, thou wast not wont to be so dull. Shall I be plain? I wish the bastards dead.
So he's just said he wants to kill the 2 young princes. Buckingham is going to say, or he's not going to jump at the chance, he's not going to agree to that plan, and that's going to ruin their relationship.
What sayest thou now?
Your grace may do your pleasure.
Tut, tut, thou art all ice. Say, have I thy consent that they shall die?
Give me some little breath, some pause, before I positively speak in this.
High-reaching Buckingham grows circumspect. No more shall he be neighbour to my counsels.
So Richard no longer trusts Buckingham because Buckingham didn't agree to kill the princes straight away. Okay, so Richard is kind of a little bit more isolated, but he's king, so all he has to do is just find someone else that's going to support him.
Come hither, Catesby. Rumour it abroad that Anne, my wife, is very grievous sick. I say again, give out that Anne, my queen, is sick.
So he's now getting Catesby, one of the other people who's been helping, to kind of spread a rumour that his wife, Anne, is very ill. She's not very ill. But if he spreads the rumour that she's ill, then when she dies, people won't be very suspicious.
And like to die about it.
To keep the crown, he needed a better marriage. Once rid of Anne, he would marry Elizabeth, sister of the two little princes.
My lord, I have considered in my mind the late request that you did sound me in.
So Buckingham's now going to ask for Hereford, that promise that he was given earlier in the play, but it's too late. Richard no longer trusts him, so Buckingham is going to basically just annoy Richard even more here.
Well, let that rest.
My lord, I claim the gift, my due by promise, the earldom of Hereford.
I am not in the giving vein today.
And is it thus? Repays he my deep service with such contempt? Made I him king for this? Oh, let me think on Hastings, and be gone.
So Buckingham sees the danger he's in and decides to run away.
Darest thou resolve to kill a friend of mine?
Please you, but I'd rather kill two enemies.
Why, then thou hast it, two deep enemies. Tyrrell, I mean those bastards in the tower.
So where Buckingham was not willing to kill the princes, this character here called James Tyrrell is very happy to do it because he is very immoral. He doesn't really care about the princes. He just wants to be in a position of power and influence, and he'll do whatever Richard wants in order to give him that position of power.
I will dispatch it straight.
The sons of Edward sleep in Abraham's bosom, and Anne, my wife, hath bid this world good night.
That's Richard just telling everybody that the two princes are dead, and his wife, Lady Anne, has also died.
Now, for I know that Richmond aims at young Elizabeth, my brother's daughter, and by that knot looks proudly on the crown. To her go I, a jolly, thriving wooer. Good or bad news that thou comest in so bluntly?
Bad news, my lord. Ely is fled to Richmond.
Go, muster men. We must be brief when traitors brave the field.
The Earl of Richmond had sailed back from exile to claim Elizabeth and the crown.
So the Earl of Richmond will become the next king. And he's arrived with an army, and it's putting Richard under a lot of pressure because he's now got a war to fight, a battle is brewing. And some of the people he relies on have already decided to join Richmond rather than stay and fight alongside Richard. So he's losing numbers of soldiers. Every time one of his supporters changes sides, he loses even more soldiers every time.
My lord, the army of great Buckingham is...
Out on you! Owls, nothing but songs of death!
The news I have to tell your majesty is that by sudden flood and fall of water, Buckingham's army is dispersed and scattered, and he himself wandered away alone.
I cry thee mercy. There is my purse to cure that blow of thine.
Liege, the Duke of Buckingham is taken. That is the best news. That the Earl of Richmond is with a mighty power landed at Milford is colder tidings, yet they must be told.
So there's good news and bad news for Richard. The good news is Buckingham, his ex-best friend, has been captured. And the bad news is that Richmond has got quite a large army.
Away towards Salisbury. While we reason here, a royal battle might be won and lost.
tell me, thou villain slave.
This is Queen Elizabeth, his sister-in-law, the mother of the two princes, and the mother of Princess Elizabeth. This is where she has a massive go at Richard and achieves something that some of the other women in the play haven't achieved, which is kind of gets one up over him. It's a very powerful scene.
Where are my children? Thou toad, where is thy brother Clarence?
Be patient and entreat me fair and brief, good mother, for I am in haste.
Art thou so hasty? I have stayed for thee, God knows, in torment and in agony.
And came I not at last to comfort you?
Thou camest on earth to make the earth my hell. Therefore take with thee my most grievous curse. Bloody thou art, bloody will be thy end. Shame serves thy life, and doth thy death attend.
Now that little poem there was from Richard's mother, and she's cursing him, saying that he's going to die a bloody, horrible death.
End.
Though he was beset with troubles, the hunchback king did not forget his friends. He gave orders for the Duke of Buckingham to be put to death. Now he was prepared for battle on Bosworth Field.
Here will I lie tonight. But where tomorrow? Well, all's one for that. Stir with the lark tomorrow, gentle Norfolk.
I warrant you, my lord.
Give me a bowl of wine. I have not that alacrity of spirit nor cheer of mind that I was wont to have.
So this is the night before the final battle, and Richard is feeling pretty depressed and pretty low because he knows things aren't going well.
Leave me.
Now, in this night before the battle, as he's there trying to sleep, he is visited by all the ghosts of his victims who basically curse him and wish him to have a very bad fight, a very bad battle, to die in battle. And they instead they praise and they put their kind of good luck wishes onto his enemy, the Earl of Richmond.
Clarence, by thy guile betrayed to death, tomorrow in the battle think on me. Despair and die. In a bloody battle end thy days. Think on Lord Hastings.
Despair and die. Dream my presence, smothered in the tower. Despair and die. Richard, thy wife, that wretched Anne, thy wife. Tomorrow at the battle, think on me. Despair and die.
First was I that helped thee to the crown, but last was I that felt thy tyranny. Who in the battle think of Buckingham and die in terror of thy guiltiness.
Soft, I did but dream. What do I fear? Myself. Is there a murderer here? No. Yes. I am. Then fly? What? From myself? Let not our babbling dreams affright our souls. Come Conscience is but a word that cowards use, devised at first to keep the strong in awe. Our strong arms be our conscience, swords our law. The sun will not be seen today, not shine today. Why, what is that to me more than to Richmond?
Arm, my lord! The foe vaunts in the field!
Come, bustle, bustle. March on, join bravely. Let us to it pell-mell. If not to heaven, then hand in hand to hell.
You notice that Richard's horse has been shot, and that means he's very vulnerable now on the battlefield.
A horse, a horse. My kingdom for a horse.
Withdraw, my lord. I'll help you to a horse.
Slave, I have set my life upon a cast, and I will stand the hazard of the die. I think there be 6 Richmonds in the field. 5 have I slain today instead.
So that's quite a classic tactic there. Richmond has had some decoys in the battlefield, so other soldiers that look like him have been planted in the battlefield in order to kind of distract from where his real whereabouts are.
Of him.
And there he is, on his horse, and that was Richard's head getting chopped off.
England hath long been mad and scarred herself. The brother blindly shed the brother's blood. The father rashly slaughtered his own son. The son compelled been butcher to the sire. All this divided York and Lancaster. Oh, now let Richmond and Elizabeth, the true succeeders of each royal house, by God's fair ordinance conjoin together. Now civil wounds are stopped, peace lives again. That she may long live here, God say Amen.
And there we are. So you can see the end of the play has Richmond as king. He's married to Princess Elizabeth, and the two warring sides of the War of the Roses have been unified in that marriage, and peace has been established. All that's left now, and obviously time is quite short, is that you've got these 6 questions to ponder, and I think if we needed a second lesson to get through this, that's absolutely fine. So those are the 6 questions there, and if you need to use a second lesson this week, some extra time, I'll build some of that in before the end of the week. So don't worry if you haven't finished this today. I'll make sure you've got some extra time later in the week to catch up with it. Okay, those are the 6 questions. Pause the video here, and you can get down some of your ideas and your thoughts about the play. Okay, hope you enjoyed that. Take care, year 9, and I'll send you another lesson for tomorrow. Okay.